welcome back. It's all about the green and gray today, the one and only St. John's College, home of the Green Giants. And we have two more St. John's College graduates to my left. Yolanda Adderley Fernanda, class of 81.
Yes.
Class of 80, Mr. Philip Gray. And these people are part of the team that really do a lot to keep the Alumni Association going and making sure that things and contributions go back to current students there. Let's start off with you, Yoi. What your experience was like? I remember you in Green and Gray. I was 79, but I remember you well. What was your experience like at St. John's?
I had a wonderful experience at St. John's, and I must say it was the best thing that happened to me in my life because I've created such long-time friendships. I've had friends for over 50 years that I've known from a child, and we're actually still friends today. We go away together. About 10 of us went on a European trip last year for 16 days.
Wow.
And we meet up once a month. We had a social at my house about a couple weeks ago. And so those are long-time friendships that I cherish.
Remind me of some of the others who were in your class now in 81.
In my class, we have Karina Neely.
Yes.
Yes. And then we have Sherilyn Taylor Moss. She's very active in the alumni group. Carol Saunders Raming. Jillian, Jillian Curry.
Oh, my cousin. Yeah.
Yes, who's the designer. We're very proud of her in our class. We have Evelyn Bandu Kasar.
Yes, who has done exceptionally well in finance.
Yeah, we lost one of our classmates, Debbie Ferguson. Yes. She was a magistrate.
Yes, she died recently.
Yes.
But lifelong friendships.
Yes.
And there's power in those friendships.
Oh, yes.
But you were very instrumental in keeping the association going and making sure that those of us who may not be able to do it as readily as you do, give back to the school.
Yeah.
And how do you, because that's a lot of work.
Listen,
how do you keep doing it?
You have to be enthusiastic and you have to have a love for the school. And I have a love for St. John's. I even help with prom. I give them more than they can afford by soliciting from some of my classmates some things that could make it better, you know, but it takes a love for the school to really want to do this.
So what would you say is the single greatest quality you adopted from being in St. John's College throughout the years?
Listen, I don't know what they did with us at St. John's when we were there, but I noticed that almost everyone from a certain time forward, I say from 1970s, maybe even from the inception to now, to say in the 90s, 80s and 90s, they are dedicated and they bond. And
that's true.
So what I gained from being at St. John's is how to be loyal, how to give back to others, how to be, like philanthropists, and you want to help other people out. That's what I think I gained from being at St. John's.
And when we look at what's going on in the country now, I think that's needed even more than ever. Yes. Yeah. Philip, class of 1980. Give us a little bit more of the history of St. John's.
Yes, so the school was started or commenced in 1947 under the directives of the then Bishop Spence Burton, who made...
And I was in Burton House, by the way.
And the school was under the tutelage...
Rachel, too.
Under the administration of the then principal, Mr. Robert Llewellyn.
That's my house. That's
Hence, the school has its teams or houses. Burton, Llewellyn,
Markham.
And the other was Markham, which is another bishop of the Anglican Diocese.
Was there Rogers too, or no?
Just the three.
Just the three. Yeah, okay.
In the 1950s, the Cathedral Grammar School was formed, and in the 1960s, that became St. John's Preparatory, which is why we can have friends for so long.
But it's funny because I went to the Cathedral Day School too at one point.
You remember that?
Yes, I do.
You remember
I remember that quite vividly. Yeah.
The school's motto, as is on our crest, you'll see, is from Latin, because we all had to study Latin in school.
Definitely.
I wasn't a good scholar of Latin, but we learned it. And it is respice,
Aspice, prospice,
which means that you have to understand and look at the past, appreciate where you are, and envision what the future is going to be like. We've had a plethora of successes as the Anglican school of choice. My kids would kill me because they went to St. Anne's, but be that as it may.
That's only because you live out east.
Yeah. But whether you look at the current Prime Minister, who is
Yes.
an old scholar, if you look at the Chief Justice of the country, magistrates, members of Parliament, if you look in sports, we have the 2 stadiums named after former scholars. The stadiums have been named after Thomas A. Robinson, and then the baseball player Andre Rogers.
And we can't forget the rocket scientist, Murray, John
Yes,
Murray.
Murray.
Yeah.
If you look at world and Olympic champion, we have in the person of Tony Williams. If you look at successes in education, Melanie Roach, who would have been the first female engineer and the first director of the Ministry of Works.
Absolutely.
And the list just goes on and on and on. It's a list that is not exhaustive.
Well, Rachel, these are extra sources to get money from.
Yeah, indeed. And so those of us who have attended St. John's, the principals will go back to Mr. Knight, then Father Strawn, Father Ward. There was also the first female principal, Ms. Ali Nash, who was also a head girl.
Right.
And then, of course, the first head girl was Miss Susan Wallace, the poet extraordinaire.
Oh, yeah.
And an ardent banker in her day. But I think, as Yolanda alluded to, in the era of Father Strawn, those of us who came up in that era, first of all, he was a strict disciplinarian.
Extremely strict.
You know, I mean, we shivered at the thought of that white cassock coming near your classroom.
And you certainly didn't want to get caned.
You know, and those of us who were in the period where we used to jump the steps down to Miss Cooper for the lunch lady. I remember Father hadn't dismissed us properly. We were all the way to the lunch lady. He made us come all the way back. And he said, nobody moves until I tell you. And then we ran back down the hill.
And that's the kind of discipline that stays
Absolutely.
with you, isn't
Yes.
it? Yeah.
That is so needed.
And no parents came to the school to complain.
Oh, you didn't?
No parents came to complain.
I never
Because you were
heard, never saw
disciplined.
anybody say that.
We had to stand in the sun because we was imitating the priest, Father Ward. He was very polite in how he would say the Angelus.
Well, in Market Street,
And we
you
had
had
to
to be in
stand
the
in the
sun for the
sun.
Angelus. You know, I could say the Angelus without thinking about it now.
I'm telling you, what the priest say and what the people say, I say all the time on Sundays. Because
But-
you had to know it. You said it every day.
So it was an education not only in the arts and the sciences, but you also got a Christian foundation,
Absolutely.
understanding the theology of the Anglican Church. And so it's a great heritage. I know you alluded to one of our former students, and no matter where you saw a rat, he can stop you, Philip Gray, or whoever.
Yes, I
St.
know.
John's must ne'er die, nor its name
Never
fade.
I tell you.
Because we were so
And you know,
proud to
that
sing
alone, that alone reminded
That
you.
alone. That alone.
Reminded you of what St. John's
Yes,
really
the
yeah, it was
principal
all
of the
about.
school. But then he spoke about talking about how people remember what the school is all about. And through the song, if you were to listen to the words of the song,
Right.
you can really, you know, I mean, no function we have, we don't sing the
Sing a
song.
song, yeah.
I wish that, you know, like sometimes when we at school for assemblies, the kids don't seem to have the same feel for the song like we do.
Yeah.
They don't know it out of their heads.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
Well,
know they made us do it all the time. Maybe
so that
we
we
could
knew it.
incorporate that
We knew
now
it.
so they
Well,
can
well,
know.
that brings me to the next thing, talking about interaction with current day students, and we're going to have 2 students in our next segment. But how much real sort of getting together with the students and really conversing with them and explaining, just giving them advice, are you able to do
We
and
do
allowed
that.
to do?
We do
'Cause
that.
I know people go to Founders Day ceremonies and
Yes.
all that, and and school assemblies.
And on Founders Day, we did it one year where we went to the classroom and we spoke to kids and we told them about our experience in being in St. John's and how not to let their bond disappear when they leave school, because we spoke to all of the 12th graders.
Yeah.
And we told them, to try to stay together because we showed them people around us known each other for over 50 years.
Yes.
We help each other. We help each other in business. I know you come and rent chairs for me for my business.
Sure.
I come to your pharmacy. That's how we work with one another.
Absolutely.
So it's a great network
Work.
that you create from your own persons.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that is what we tried to show them one Founders Day when we came in and spoke to each one of them.
I think too that we have, over the years, first of all, I think the Alumni Association ought to be commended because it is a very strong, vibrant force that assists the school and is proud of its heritage. And so that is being filtered down and infused into our new generation. I know one time when we were there, we were singing old chairs. I mean, cheerleading stuff. It's like, man, you all don't even know about this. The president of the BUT, Belinda Wilson, was a brilliant athlete.
She was. She could have run the 400, boy.
She ran the 400. She and I ran 400, so we were stable mates. But Belinda, Wayne Aubrey, and those persons were big cheerleaders.
Well, Wayne was a one-man cheerleader.
Yeah, one man. Wayne could rally the entire group.
He did.
Yeah. And so we were sharing chairs. They were giving us the one-day chairs. But we were singing songs like "Hit the ball on the ground and make a bed down." Oh, these are old chairs that St. John's came up. St. John's is the best from the east to the west. But it is that kind of thing when you share and you can relate to the young people and be able to say, this is what we did in our day, but we also want to learn what it is that you're doing today, because their chairs are very different but also very exciting as we were. And I think if we can get St. John's alumni to the place where, as we did with basketball, as we did with Junkanoo, that we can support them with every single activity. And next year, BISS, we can be out there in big numbers because there is a thrust for St. John's to move forward and to unseat the schools that have dominated in the last.
And we can do it.
years.
And we can
and
do
we
it.
believe that we can do that.
There's also an alumni Junkanoo festival coming up, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the alumni Junkanoo that's in May. The first one was last year, and we did very well. We actually felt that we should have been the winners because we had overall all the sections won except for one.
So several other school alumni,
Yeah,
really? Okay.
a lot of other schools participated, and they were all government schools. St. John's Alumni was the only private school in the event. It was a lot of fun. You did not know how much people was going to come out. I think the organizers didn't realize how large it was going to be.
Wow.
And so, it did very well for its first time out.
Yeah, and let me just say on that note, because we encourage more of the private schools to get involved this year.
Yeah.
And at the BISS, there was a rivalry going on. They say, y'all do well, and you all win that, but we wasn't there. And I said, well, if you ain't show up, you lose by default. It's your fault. So make sure you be on that side.
True.
Come on
Now,
out.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to encourage some of our classmates over the years who haven't quite got into the association yet. And not everybody could, do all the time, but you could either give up your time and give up your money and give us something. I want you to make a special appeal to them, both of you, in your own way. And let's look in that camera right there.
Okay, well, all the alumni out there, I would like to encourage you to come and give back. I'm sure you have something that you can contribute to young folks, that you can give of your time and give of your experience so that you can teach them, you know, what it was like back then and help to encourage them in their way forward as they move on and go out of school, and they are encouraged to give back once they see you're doing it.
And likewise, I like the passage of scripture that says, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yes.
We know that as alumni, we received a lot.
That's right.
As students of St. John's. First of all, when we look at what it costs to put a student through school, your school fees are supplemented. I know we think we pay school fees, but our school fees could not cover the cost. But when you add teachers like Ms. Strawn and Ms. McCall and those who really just sold into you, who believed in you, and helped to make us the people that we are today, I think it is an opportunity for us to give back and to sow back into these young people, and certainly to make sure that, as the school song says, St. John's will never die or its name never fail. Whatever you can contribute. We all have skill sets, we all have giftings. Whatever your gift or skill set is, it can be used. And certainly if it's not your time, your treasure, it's something that we can use.
And are there, I don't know to what level it might be organized, like apprenticeships, for example. You're a pharmacist. There may be some people who have interest in pharmacy. They can come spend a week or two with you during a summer break or something like that to learn more about the profession.
Sure, and even the school has had career days, and so I know that I have been a part of that. We've had health fairs where we've assembled different health professionals there. So there are a number of opportunities that we can use to make sure that we encourage our young people to strive for excellence in every area.
Good. Any final words before we bring on the two current students?
Well, I just want to encourage people to continue to give back. We have some people that do a very good job, and then we have some people say they're out of school. Yeah, you're out of school, but please, have a conscience, give back to somebody else. Be mindful of the young people coming up. We always like to say the young people this, the young people that, but if we give up our time and our talents, we'll have a better nation going forward.
And I encourage that we, through the school, can be nation builders. And I say there are only two types of people. People who went to St. John's and those who wish they did. My condolences to the others. My condolences to those who couldn't.
Thank you all for being on the program. And after the break, we've got two senior students, and I think you're going to be interested in hearing their stories. Stay with us.